Well, I think communications in any transaction is important. I think it's just heightened during cross-border M&A because quite often the offshore company coming into the market here for the first time doesn't have an understanding of the Australian media landscape. The other issues which need to be considered are things such as quite often they don't have a spokesperson here on the ground, there might be time zone differences, language barriers and all those sorts of things. So it really is something where a company needs to be well represented on the ground here in Australia. Well, I think all media markets are different. The US is different to the UK, which is again different to countries such as Hong Kong. Australia has its own unique attributes. I think here in Australia we've got a sophisticated business media and a relatively small ASX. So when a transaction breaks, there tends to be a lot of scrutiny and interest around it. The second thing which is interesting is that we've got a very large and sophisticated business commentariat who are writing editorials and commentary on transactions, and they're particularly interested in cross-border deals. We also tend to have a lot of speculation here in the Australian market, and that is something which offshore companies are often surprised at in terms of the level of deal speculation which is occurring here in the Australian market. And then I think the final aspect which has only occurred recently is this proliferation of investor newsletters and investor publications which are really targeting the burgeoning pool of self-managed superannuation fund money here in the Australian market. There are lots of different aspects of doing a transaction in the Australian market which can ultimately play out in the media. This can include aspects related to FIRB, the ACCC and competition related issues, corporations law and truth in takeovers, the takeovers panel, and there's a whole array of different regulatory issues which might play out in the media. They all can be sensitive, they all need to be managed very carefully, and ultimately from an offshore company's perspective looking into the Australian market for the first time, it's something that they need to make sure they have good, safe representation here on the ground in this country.